Welcome to Performance Driven Living, the podcast where we question everything. We don't tiptoe around tough topics, we walk right into them. Not to provoke, but to get closer to what's real. You might not agree with everything you hear, and that's okay. The show isn't about being right, it's about being real. These conversations are meant to stretch your thinking, challenge assumptions, and spark something deeper. The views shared are those of our guests and may not reflect those of the host or team. And while we dive deep into health, performance, and transformation, this is not medical advice. Talk to your doctor before making changes to your health or lifestyle. Take what lands, leave what doesn't. But whatever you do, don't stop questioning.
We are here at the Performance Driven Living podcast at the Changing Life and Destiny Conference down in Plano, Texas. And I have the distinct honor of speaking with Dr. Patrick Porter today. And Patrick is the founder and the science and the everything behind the science of BrainTap. And if you've ever been to a natural health and wellness conference anywhere, Patrick's there. I think he secretly runs them all because I've never been to one that he's not at, which is weird. But I absolutely love the science. I love everything about this. And yesterday you received an award. Yep. Tell me exactly what that was, because at a dinner you got honored and it was so well deserved.
Yeah, they gave me the Person of the Year award, I guess, because of all the help we're doing. I mean, when you think about the mental wellness crisis we're having today,
yes,
it's really a brain fitness crisis. The brain is not able to regulate through time. So
correct.
I think, and I think with mostly our doctors and other people out there sharing it, because one guy can't do all that, but we have a great organization, they keep doing it, and I've done a lot with Al since his very first one, helping bring people in. I don't run them all, but I do help them make them. I do help them make them better if I can. Because it's going to help me. Because I'm a vendor also too. I'm not just a speaker. We have a product. So.
Yeah, and so there's a couple things I love here, and that is at Performance Driven Living, our entire goal is speaking to an audience of people who want to learn ways that they can be better.
Yeah.
And like, how do we learn more? How do we just show up better in the world at whatever that is? Like, it can be any number of topics, but I love your background, BrainTap specifically, and part of it is because I know your intention, and that is, let me back up a minute. You're a clinical psychologist, and obviously you've practiced for years, and this is kind of a relatively new pivot to your career, getting into using BrainTap as opposed to clinical practice and research.
Right.
My background is in clinical psychology also, so I've done private practice therapy and whatnot. Kind of fun. But you really do see a world in crisis. And as you know, I actually sit on the board of a recovery center that actually deals with both addiction and trauma recovery. And there very much is the core of what that organization is talking about this union, this alignment of body, mind, and spirit, and different types of treatments focus on different aspects of that, but there really needs to be a synergy between those things, and BrainTap is part of what they do, and you know that. You've been amazingly supportive of that as well. BrainTap specifically, I want you to unpack that for me on what it is, first of all.
Well, I have it here, just a little picture of it. It uses a visor and it has earphones, but what it is, it's a way to synchronize brainwave activity and provide energy to the brain. Mm-hmm. When you talk about, there needs to be something to make those pieces all connect. There's a matrix of energy in our own body. It starts with our DNA. 10 billion miles of DNA running through your blood right now. We could extend from here to Pluto. And what it's doing right now, it's drawing in light energy and transmitting it to your codes. That's the 99% of junk DNA, they said. Yep. But in 2018, they realized it's actually changing our DNA every about 40 seconds. Every DNA pair is changing based on the information from this field.
Right.
And so it's no longer like guesswork. The NIH actually has it on their website. They call it the biosphere. And so
I was just talking with Philip earlier from Leela, and we literally got into this conversation about the biosphere.
Yeah. So, and they talk about, they put it up there in 1994, but they're not telling the doctors about it apparently, because they still think it's some mystical, metaphysical thing, but we're all energy. So in order to get your diet to work, for instance, you have to have your body, when they call it rest, digest, and recover, because you're in a parasympathetic state. But if you go there in a high anxiety state, we call sympathetic state, your body's not going to digest,
Doesn't even absorb
metabolize
the food the same. Yep.
So you could be taking the best supplements, but they're not going through the system. So we use light, sound, and vibration to train the brain. So like I said, our field in this room, where the lights, the sounds, everything going on is playing into, do we feel safe? Are we okay? If we don't feel safe, our body's going to go into protection mode. And that's at a cellular level, not just psychologically, but your psychological system will program the biological system. And so that's why you can predetermine if you're going to be stressed about something. Like I'm so stressed about meeting somebody. And then they get there and they're stressed out and they go, I can't believe how stressed I was. Well,
I knew this was going to happen.
Yes, I knew that was going to. So this intuition that we have is really this 100 billion neural processor, the brain, working for us. So what we do with BrainTap is we give people time to step outside of all this and really go inward. Because once you figure out, I tell people it's the story like in Psychology 101 when they put the frogs in the pot. They put one frog in while it was boiling and jumped right out.
It jumps
There's
out.
no
The
way I'm
one
going to do
turns
that.
Up slowly boils to death because he doesn't notice gradual changes. Yeah.
And that's what's happened to people in our life. Think
I
about
tell
what
people that's
COVID.
me.
Yeah. So they don't realize they're doing the backstroke to death. You know, they're taking the easy road. They're not. Our body needs to be worked. So number one, we want to get people up moving. So we actually have BrainTap sessions that work with. We have for clinics, we have a little, you can actually get it for your house too, but it's a balance board. And we have exercises. You can neurologically train your brain, and then you use BrainTap to do the recovery. Most people don't realize when you exercise, you create something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factors. And that's the most important thing for neuroplasticity. Then think of neuroplasticity as your brain's capacity to change.
Yep.
Because we can't really measure neuron activity in the brain. I mean, they talk about it, but we can't measure that. What we can measure is energy positions in the brain. And then what they do is they have a mathematical formula that says if we have 8.1 volts in that area, we know it's this many neurons. You know, so most people, when they were born, they had 18.1 volts in their brain. As we age, because the brain will do what's called neural pruning. A lot of people think the more you know, the smarter you become. No. The more you know, the dumber you become unless you create neuroplasticity.
Yes.
Because you get narrow-minded in your thinking, you start thinking everything, you start seeing things only through your own filters. And that's the biggest thing even with addiction, is getting people to start thinking outside those filters because they think the only solution is alcohol, the only solution is heroin, the only solution is cocaine.
I want to jump in there real quick because I gave a talk here yesterday and I actually talked for a few moments during there about this topic of unlearning.
Yes, exactly.
And I would love your opinion on this because I'm a lifelong learner, right?
Yeah.
And I think we all consider ourselves lifelong learners. And I think one of the things that I find myself challenging myself with on a regular basis is what is it that I know that I shouldn't, and how do I unlearn that?
Yeah.
Because the brain tends to chunk.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, the brain will, as long as you keep firing those neurological systems, you know, Hebb's law says those neurons that fire together, wire together.
Yep.
So
we reinforce the beliefs.
Yes. And the ones that unwire, as long as you don't fire them, they will soon atrophy.
Yep.
So I tell people, I say, think of your brain like a field, and it's the middle of summer, and the grass grew up really big, and you kept walking to the store a certain way. So you built a path. It's easy to get that way. But somebody told you, hey, there's a better store over here, but you got to build a new path.
Yep.
The first time through, it's going to be a little difficult. Second time through, it's going to be a little difficult. But if you keep using that path, this path will become beaten down. This path will grow over. That's what happens in the brain.
Yeah.
The brain, we lose neurons as we age, and that used to be a concern, but we also have neurogenesis. So what you do, the best thing you can do is, let's say, for instance, you have an addiction to cigarettes, and you want to get rid of them. Well, people telling you cigarettes are bad are not going to stop you because that's not where it's compartmentalized in your brain. Cigarettes are doing something positive for you, like maybe they're relaxing, maybe you're focusing on something, maybe they're giving you time away where you get away from people.
Yeah, because it's attached to a reward center.
Yeah. So what is that reward? Now what you need to do is find out that underlying positive intention and link it to something else. What will happen is the brain will write over the non-effective use. The brain always only does the number one best thing for you. But it doesn't know the number one best thing until you assign it. Mm-hmm. But if you keep doing something wrong, but you're saying you don't want to do it, but you keep doing it, emotion drives behavior. So you might have to work on the emotional trigger. There could be a trigger, like somebody lights up a cigarette. That could be the trigger. Or after a meal could be a trigger. After sex could be a trigger. You know, all these are triggers. So now you have to work on the trigger. What is it going to do for you after that experience? How can I make a shift? What could I do differently? That's how you can't really erase it because your brain remembers everything. And people go, I don't have a good memory. No, you have a perfect memory. It's the recall system. So as we age, we have this neural pruning I was talking about. So if you don't keep high energy in the brain, about 27 years old, most people's brain will be about 10.1 volts. And it should remain there for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. Because, and I want to point something out here, we as a society, and this is my strong opinion, tend to tell people that as you age, you should just expect decline.
Yeah, that's not true.
And it's not true because healthy is healthy.
You've probably read about ancient cultures, right?
Oh, yeah.
They keep the wisdom of the tribe with the youngsters. No, they keep it with the elders.
It's all with the elders.
Why would they keep all the most important, valuable information of the tribe with the elders if they didn't have great
if their
minds?
memories were falling apart? Exactly.
They have great minds.
Yes.
The problem is that they were actively working and they didn't just disassociate from the tribe.
Well, and this idea of retirement is a very new thing.
Right.
Like the elders held positions of leadership. The elders held positions of mentoring and teaching. Like they always had jobs.
Right. Yes.
Like this idea of not having a job.
Purpose. Our biological system, if we don't have purpose, we'll shut down.
Yes.
We are intention driven. So if we don't have an intent or purpose and we don't have connection, our body will say we're not needed. We're like that neuron that doesn't get used anymore. Mm-hmm. The consciousness will neural prune us.
Yes. And so you're driving me in a direction of a topic that is like top on my mind all the time right now, and that is that there's a discipline that's I say relatively new that's coming up. A good friend of mine. I don't know if you know Dr. Olivia Lessler. Do you know Olivia?
Sounds really
You
familiar.
need to if you don't. She's just. I love her to death. But she is really spending, she's more of a diagnostician now. She's an Australian MD who now mostly functions in functional medicine. But she is deep into this study of psychoneuroimmunology.
Oh, yeah.
And the psychoneuroimmunology, for listeners, if that's a new word, is this idea that your psychology is literally programming your physiology.
Yeah,
and
that's a fact, yeah.
Yes, and you made a comment a moment ago about, if you tell yourself you have no purpose, your biology responds.
Right.
Your cells are like, oh, we don't have a purpose. All right, well, we don't need to function like we used to anymore.
That's why the average person retires and expires. Only 5 years.
Yes.
You got to have a purpose. You don't have to get paid for that purpose. What I always tell people, what did you overcome in life? What had you survived? Because not everybody, as we get older, there's going to be less and less people at your reunion, right? Until you're the last person. And so what did you do differently? That's your mission. Teach that.
Your pain drives your purpose, right?
Yep. So you figure out, then what'll happen is it's something you're passionate about because you lived it. There's other people out there struggling. I guarantee you, the human condition, there's only 128 different ways you can screw this up. And they're in every movie because there's only 128 scripts.
Yep.
We all run the same scripts. That's why when you watch a TV show or a movie, you're going, that's like me, or that's not like me.
Every episode is related to an I Love Lucy from somewhere, right?
Yes, right. So so I think that the main thing, we've proven it. Also, your psychology, when you're going through the different brainwaves and what we do with BrainTap, it also programs the gut to make your neurotransmitters. Mm-hmm. So when I'm talking about, when people say we have a mental health crisis, no, we have a physiological crisis.
We have a microbiome problem.
If you're sitting here, I mean, we're sitting here doing this, but if we were at our offices, we might be standing at stand-up desk or something talking. I do it at least half the day because I know sitting is so bad for you. But when you're sitting, your body's saying, oh, it must be time to rest. Because not too long ago, we were part of the food chain. We didn't just sit around for hours at a time. So we would pray.
Yep.
So we think that our body knows everything we know. Our body doesn't know anything.
Only
our
when we
body's
tell it.
It's like a fourth grader. It's going to respond to what we have. And so I always tell people, and this is from Bruce Lipton, we used to bring him out to Quantum University all the time. If you ever read his book, Biology of Belief,
I have it.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great book.
I'll download it when we're talking.
Yeah. And then, but what he says is, your life is controlled by 95% your subconscious mind. But people spend an extraordinary amount of time on their 5%.
Yes.
On their conscious thinking. But when you get under stress, when you get under pressure, you don't even think anymore. That's why, if you get a divorce, you lose your job, do these things. I would tell my clients, don't make any major life decisions.
Any big decisions.
Right. Because you're not thinking right. You don't have all the factors. Well, now people are running around in low-level stress. And one thing I should tell the listeners, that it's not just stress that you feel. It's a chemical response. Your liver holds 25 grams of
Yes.
glucagon.
Yes.
And every time you get that stressful event, it dumps into the system. Now, I've had people say, I don't know how I got diabetes. I don't eat any sugar. I said, it's not what you're eating. It's what's eating you. And
True
that
story.
stress is that what happens with that 5 tablespoons of sugar, 4 cannot be used.
Yep.
Because you can only have 1 tablespoon in your bloodstream.
Correct.
So that means your fat storage hormone has to be released. And then when that's released, the body has to store it in fat. And it says, later we're going to need that because guess what? There's going to be a famine because all the genetic history of your, whatever made this body since the beginning of time is in here, encoded in here. It doesn't know that we have a supermarket in every corner. It doesn't know that hopefully we'll never go through a famine.
It stores.
But yeah. And then,
At this point, we might.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't even know.
and if you're just sitting there and you haven't worked out today, so you have no room for sugar in your muscles, all 5 does that. And now that happens every time. The average person looks at their cell phone 300 times a day. If you look at your life as a pessimist, you're going to get that stress response. If you look at it as an optimist, you might not. You might, but a lot of business owners, people like that, they're always looking, oh no, what's that? What happened? And in fact, I just saw a show on Gaia, it's called Spiritual Science. Mm-hmm. It's a really cool show. And they did this experiment with people where they were showing them random pictures. And then they would show them a gory picture. Beautiful pictures, gory picture. Every person in the study, 45 seconds before they showed that gory picture, had a response to that gory picture before they saw it. So they knew about it before it happened.
Wow.
And they did it with dogs, same thing. Cats, same thing. Birds, same thing. They had pictures of nice birds flying around, then they showed a snake, the natural predator. The bird knew about it before it actually came up. So this reality isn't what we think. Our brain is going out. We're perceiving reality. When we think about our
In
brain.
advance of actually
Yes.
experiencing it.
Yeah, and we anticipate. It's actually called brain priming because our neurons have to be ready to fire and wire.
Right.
It's like getting out, starting your car, making
It's
sure you got
triggering
gas.
that sympathetic nervous.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with Luke Story recently, and we got in this whole conversation about how your words are power and how words affect your own physiology and whatnot. And it was kind of just one of these surface conversations for a second. I'm like, Luke, let me give you an example. And I already told the story once today, but it's relevant to this. And that is, I was like, if I were to shout duck right now, and I'm like, think of what's going to happen. I said, first of all, I'm going to put your entire physiology into a sympathetic nervous system response. Your body's going to flood with nitric oxide. I'm going to release endorphins in your brain. Your pupils are going to dilate. All of your major organs are going to shut down into survival mode. Your blood vessels are going to dilate from the nitric oxide production. And I went through this list of things, and I looked and went, that's one word from me.
Right.
And I just affected your physiology with that amount of impact. And I went, what in the world do your words do to your physiology on a daily basis?
Well, we know your words change 3,200 gene expressions. And it's either upregulating or downregulating. If you have a negative propensity or you're looking at life as a threat, it's going to downregulate. If you're looking at it as a challenge, and like some people they want to conquer everything. They're adrenaline junkies. Doesn't faze them. Those are the special forces kind of people.
That eustress.
Yeah. And so that's different. Now, too much of that is bad too. I mean, our body likes balance, but we need moments of that high stress. That's what exercise is for.
Absolutely.
And working out. Then we need high quality relaxation, and I think most people can't do that. So that's why one of the main reasons I invented the BrainTap at the time.
I was going to say, great segue.
Yeah, it was actually called MC Square at the beginning because I like Einstein and,
Nice.
And so, because when you use this technology, just to give an example to the listeners, since we're talking about learning, we're at Seminole College now doing a full college program because we help their golfers 4 years in a row become national champions. So we have a sports program.
Can I unpack this while we're talking to just show people that are watching?
Well,
I have one at home.
Yes,
but
okay. while we were doing the study with them for the last 4 years, what they noticed was the golf team had the highest GPA in the school. So they put the softball team on it. Now the softball team and the golf team have the highest GPA in the school. Now we're doing a whole school study to show them if they use BrainTap once a day, and we did it based on a study with Google and Microsoft. These were high performing. They wanted to figure out, Julie Arnn, who's a peak performance expert, did a study with us, and she was asked by Google and Microsoft, how can we get our programmers to stop burnout? And so she calls me up and she says, Patrick, I use your BrainTap. What do you think we can do to help them out? And I said, they have to do a session at 2:00 in the afternoon. She said, why 2:00 in the afternoon? I said, because everybody's biology at 2 o'clock in the afternoon drops 2 degrees.
Really?
It's part of the circadian rhythm.
I did not know that.
It reboots it. Most people think they need coffee, tea, or chocolate. No, your body needs light energy. It needs a nap. Because if I took your genetics and mapped them all the way back to the beginning on Earth, it would all started from one place, the Serengeti. And what happens in the Serengeti at 2 o'clock in the afternoon?
Hide of the sun. Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. You're all sleeping. The lions are sleeping. The zebras are sleeping. Nobody's running around looking for sales. Or something,
The lions are doing their spreadsheets.
Right. Yeah. So what happens is our bodies are like now at 2 o'clock a.m., you actually raise your temperature 2 degrees because it's part of the body's chemistry to clean out the toxins.
Which is part of the reason why it's best to sleep in cool temperatures, right?
Yeah. So these are all things that we found out with this. Now, what happened with that study, just so the listeners know, number one, they weren't going to do it. They're too busy. So I had to show them, in Stephen Covey's book, he's got the guys cutting with the saw, and he says, I can teach you to cut that tree down faster, sharpen the saw. No, we're too busy cutting down the tree. So many people are so busy being busy, they don't realize that they take time out. So that's the first thing we wanted to prove to them. Now, this was a perfect case because they get paid on keystrokes. Imagine that. You're a slave. Everybody thinks working at Google and Microsoft's this big, wonderful job. As a programmer, you're just sitting there. There's a reason they call them flat fruit eaters. They slide pizzas under the door, keep them working, because they only get paid while they're keying. So we knew exactly how much work they did during the day. The days they did BrainTap at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the average work production was 26% more work done.
Wow.
By taking a 20-minute break. They got a day and a quarter a week worth of work by taking a 20-minute break. Their sleep scores went up over 64%. Their happiness score improved to 54%. Their likelihood of leaving the job went to almost zero.
It's absolutely crazy.
So, because our body is energy. So all day long we're collecting this energy. We need to reboot that system.
Yep.
And that's what the 2 o'clock sessions are all about.
It's an afternoon purge.
Yeah.
So BrainTap, obviously, for anybody who's watching, I can show you, but it's like the BrainTap functions by producing audio. So it's actually giving you sensors those are actually brainwave signals that are in here, right? So different tracks actually have delta waves, gamma waves, and so on, depending on that, to synchronize the harmony of your brain into a different wavelength. But then also you're providing light cues while this is being used with the visor. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, it's called retinal flashing, and the science is called frequency following response. So our eyes actually bring in more light than any other area of the body. It has more mitochondria per square centimeter than anywhere else. The mitochondria's job is to absorb light and transmit light. So a lot of people don't realize that mitochondria is telling your cells what to do. Okay. Just like our sun. Think of our sun as the mitochondria for our solar system. That's why at 10 o'clock when you're in bed, you make more melatonin between 10 and 11 and your liver starts to clean at 11. But if you're not in bed, you don't get those benefits because you're up moving and doing your thing. So those are brain dependent, brain wave dependent, but also synchronized with the light from the sun, the circadian rhythm. So what we're doing is we're matching the circadian rhythms. We're using red and blue light in the ears and blue light in the eyes. We will eventually have full color light. That's in our next iteration, which will be out in about a year. I just put the patent in for it. And it's going to go through like the different, because also brain frequencies are a color. When you hear them, that's actually a color. And they've matched that color, so I can match the color with the lights. So now we're going to have another layer, but the lights, these are called earth frequencies. So if you and I would go to the ocean and sit down, have a talk, our body, the light from the ocean, the reflecting light, and the ocean waves and the sound are creating what's called an isochronic tone generator. It's like binaural beats, but it can be done in a room. In Silva, we call it the Silva sound. But what happens is our body will start to sync to 10 hertz frequency. That's why when people go to the ocean, they go, I don't know why I'm so relaxed here. I just love it here. It's beautiful. Well, you're creating acetylcholine because every one of these brainwaves are matched to a neurotransmitter. So what we do though, it's hard for people to drop into theta. And I know there's a lot of people on the internet say they go to theta, but I measured on one hand the people that can go to theta. And
I agree with you. I know a couple, but yes.
There are some people, but they're not going to be my clients. Those are people that are doing their own thing. They're on the mountaintop somewhere doing it. But when you start triggering theta, you start producing something called GABA. GABA is a precursor to something called DMT. But it's here in Dallas with Dr. Rosenthal, we did a study with PTSD, and they wanted to use BrainTap as an integration tool. So when what we found out with the psilocybin, I said, I'd never done a psilocybin. I don't know what it will do. I have done it since then because after the research, I said.
Well, that's the next question I want to ask you. I'm curious, but go ahead.
So what we found out was while you're on a psilocybin, you have this high activity of gamma, especially in the right hemisphere, up top here. And then when I did my research in that area of the brain, that's where people that have like out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, spiritual experiences, they always talk about that part of the brain tingling. So it was a region of the brain that looks like a vortex or something for the brain. I'm not sure what it is. So what I did was I said to Dr. Rosenthal, I said, let's measure their brains, let's make sure it's consistent. I'm going to make some sessions to do that. Now we have 500 gamma sessions because we're having people have a psilocybin trip with no psilocybin.
Really?
You just put on the gamma session, do your breathing exercise, could be like a 4-8 breath or box breathing or whatever you want to do. Get yourself ready and you just take it.
Okay, so I have a BrainTap at home and I didn't realize that. So now you're going to get me in a massage chair because it's literally sits next to my massage chair at my house.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to be doing gamma sessions while I'm there.
Yep.
But I do have a question for you. We've got to wind up here in a second, but so you're going to laugh because I'm a person, I've never done drugs. I've never done anything, never interested me. Psychedelics never interested me. And my functional medicine doctor last year, probably around December, said, you know what, you've been under a lot of stress lately, and I'm concerned about neuroinflammation. And she says, I actually want you to do a ketamine treatment. So I got a BrainTap on and got put in the zero gravity chair and everything else, and then had a ketamine IV at the same time. First time I've ever experienced anything like this. Yeah. But I'm curious how the BrainTap actually, you mentioned it's got the gamma step, but
what we know with ketamine, and I love ketamine and assisted, treatments like that, because it creates a lot of neuroplasticity. Mm-hmm. Now, what BrainTap will do is organize that neuroplasticity.
Really?
So we have a whole, that's why we created the gamma series for that one. We have 10 sessions they use in ketamine treatment centers for the 10 tracks that they use. It's in 66 minutes, the 60-minute track.
Well, other than the extreme nausea that I experienced, I'm going to tell you, it wasn't a terrible experience. It definitely was something I'd never experienced before.
Yeah, we have, there's a line mat here, over here, I think. It's a PMF mat, a low-level PMF. The clinic that we worked with, where I made the ketamine sessions for, but now they're available to anybody that just use it. So, but they lay on that mat, they do their ketamine, they do the BrainTap, you're out of there. Just like when I do NAD. Have you ever done NAD?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, people get nauseated. I went to one in Sedona, Dr. Katrina, who did the training. I said, I'm going to bring my BrainTap. She said, okay, she had a BrainTap too, but she didn't use it in the clinic there. So I did my session and I didn't realize I started to feel a little nauseous and she said, you can adjust it. I adjusted the wrong way. I made it faster. I got done in 45 minutes. And she goes, how do you feel? I go, I feel great. She goes, you did that in 45 minutes? I said, yeah. And the next day I came in, did it again in 45 minutes. She says, don't you feel nauseous? I said, no, I'm using my BrainTap. I'm in gamma. I don't feel it at all. Because if you're outside of brain, and so by the end of the time, the 11 people I brought enough BrainTaps, because I had them because I was going to a show. We used them there and we were tracking what would happen. And we know that you integrate more nutrition while you're in a parasympathetic state. Yeah. So while they're up there worrying and stressing, I said, you don't have to be there for this.
No, you got to rest and digest. I mean, you got to be there if you're going to have top and
So with IVs, we do it all the time. That's in ketamines. I mean, I've never done it with the IV ketamine because I'm usually totally out. I don't know. I've done it twice, so but I've done the nasal spray and the lozenges. Yep. There's a group called it's like a mobile ketamine. I did the sessions for them, so they send them a laptop, and then a psychologist or somebody, a counselor, will talk to them about it, and then they listen to me while they're doing it with their earphones. And I walk them through and tell them it's going to be safe. But mostly it's all music, so they can have the experience. Every once in a while, I just chime in and say, "You're in a safe place. You're okay." Right? Because they're doing it alone.
Because most of the ketamine journeys are guided, anyways. Yeah. Patrick, they're going to yell at me here in a minute to shut up, but I could talk all afternoon with you. If you want to check out BrainTap, there's show notes, Patrick's bio, all that will be there where people can check that out. But, buddy, so good to sit here and chat with you. I appreciate you taking the time today. I hope you're having a great show here.
Yeah, that's good.
I didn't know how to repack that.
Okay. Where's the sleeve?
I've got the sleeve here.
Okay.
For those of you watching, again, we are here live at the Changing Life and Destiny Conference in Plano, Texas, with Dr. Patrick Porter, the inventor, science, entrepreneur, all behind BrainTap. And check them out, braintap.com.
Thank you, man.
Good seeing you, buddy.